Hi, this is Mary Kay. I am doing a sample painting for the San Bruno Library art class. This is my setup. I have a big 1/2" flat brush, a number 4 round brush, a bamboo signer, piece of sponge, 2 cups of water, some paints with yellow, permanent rose, French ultramarine blue, and this dark color is called neutral tint. We're going to do a sunset with oak trees, and this is my photograph I pulled off the internet. It's by Gary Hart. And the first step we're going to do is wet the paper. I'm going to leave the bottom third or the bottom 3 inches dry. So we're just wetting the sky. My wrist is a little bit sore, so I have a green wrap on it. So I just dip my water, or I dip my 1/2" flat brush into the water, go back and forth. If I pick a little blue up from the board, it doesn't matter. I'm going to take one of my paper towels and dry the edges of this so that when I'm painting, if there's little beads of water here, sometimes they'll run back in and make what we call a watermark. So the first color that we're going to paint on our sunset is yellow. So I dip my brush into the yellow. I'm making, this is the only time we're really going to use the yellow, so you can use all of this yellow. So I'm making a puddle right here of the yellow. So I can dip just 1/4 of my brush in and then add the paint, and I'm making a puddle with that paint. What I'm going to do is paint long horizontal strokes across the bottom of the painting where it's wet. Maybe skip a little bit. And put some big yellow areas into my sunset. I'm not going to actually draw the sun. This is when the sun's already set and it's just the colors in the sky. Now I'm going to make another puddle with the permanent rose or the pink. Same thing. And this is going to make pink. When you mix yellow and pink, you get red. So I'm going to just notice that I'm making really long strokes that go all the way across the page. And where I'm mixing more yellow with the pink, I'm getting more orange. Now I'm going to rinse my brush out, and I'm going to do the same thing with the French ultramarine blue. I'm going to make a puddle. And this is the color that I'm going to use at the top, and I'm going to mix it with some of the pink to make purple. I want this whole top to be this French ultramarine blue. I don't want the blue to mix with the yellow too much because it sort of makes almost like a gray-green. But I do want it to mix with the red and make sort of a purple. And now I'm going to just add some here. And then the most important thing to do when you're painting a sky is to stop. You do not want to overpaint it. I'm going to rinse my brush out now. My sky is wet, and for this video demonstration, I'm going to just let it dry naturally. The first thing I'm going to do now is work this neutral tint into that puddle. Just put it in with the blue. And I'm going to paint the bottom. I didn't wet this first. I want this really dark, so I don't wet it first. This is called wet on dry. The top was wet into wet, so my paint's all wet, but my paper is dry. I'm going to paint right to the edge of the paper. It's going to go on the board a little bit. When the sky is dry, you can paint right over the sky. I'm not sure my sky's dry yet. Make my ground just a little bumpy. I don't want it to be perfectly flat. So I have a beautiful dark foreground. I'm just going to set my brush down for a minute, and then I'm going to take my bamboo signer, and I want to sign my name into this dark paint. Sometimes it digs in and makes it like even darker, and sometimes it sort of scrapes the white, the paint off, and you have a little bit of the white paper showing. You definitely want to sign it at least about an inch up into the picture, because if you put it down here at the bottom, you're not going to see it when we put the mat on it. So here I'm kind of holding it with my finger, and I'm going to write my name. It's kind of turning out white because the paint has dried a little bit. So it's scraping it up, MKS period, Jolly. And then I always like to make a C with a little circle around it for copyright. Any work on paper is a copyright. So the next thing to do is to put on the foliage of the trees. So I'm going to mix more of this paint here with my brush. So I'm adding water. I'm going to set my brush there. I don't want to rinse it out yet. So that part's dry, that's wet. And that's wet. I am going to quickly dry this with a blow dryer. In class, while you're painting this and then I start the bottom, yours will be dried. Okay, my sky is dry now. Now we're going to take the sponge and we're going to dip it into that puddle. Oh, first of all, the sponge needs to be wet in your clear water and really, really wrung out well. And then get it so that you're holding it so it's making a kind of a good little ball, and then put it into that puddle. And now we're going to put in the foliage of the trees. I'm going to do 3 oak trees, one over here to the side, and then not smack in the center, but a little bit off center. Little different shapes. If I twist my sponge as I blot, and then one more over here, and 3 different heights too. And set my sponge to the side. Now I'm going to take my little brush and I'm going to use more of the paint. And I'm going to start painting in the trunks and the branches. So the first thing to remember, and everybody knows this, is that when trees start at the bottom, that's where they're the thickest, and as they go up higher and higher and higher, they get thinner and thinner and thinner. So you need to, as you push your brush down at the bottom, push hard, and then as you come up, you lift the brush up and it'll make a thinner and thinner line. The other thing to know is that all trees have angles that their branches come off in, and oak trees have branches that come off at nearly 90 degrees. That's why they all look so twisted. So I'm going to start this one, not this trunk on this tree, not smack in the center of the oak tree, but just slightly to the side, pushing hard and making it nice and thick and lifting it up as I go up. I'm going to make a branch come out almost at 90 degrees and then come down and get that over here. I think it can split here. I'm going to get more paint on my brush. Oh, now I made it thicker there, so now I have to make the whole trunk a little bit thicker. This is going to split. This is going to split off. They split off at about 90 degrees each time. You can have little bits of tree going out the tops. So there's one. Here comes this one. I think I'm going to put it not in the center of this one either, just slightly over to the left. Let's start it here, and then I keep lifting my brush up higher, or lifting it up so that the little brush strokes get thinner and thinner. A lot of times they have branches that bend down so many times that they practically hit the ground. We don't need to connect every bit of foliage, but we need to let the viewer know that there are branches that are going out. And then this last one here. So I want these to be different distances apart. So that one's there, so I don't want them to be the same distance apart. This one, I'm just going to start here. going to have a branch that comes down. The trick on these little bitty branches is just to use the tiniest tip of the brush to make those tiny little branches out here. This guy's and sometimes the branches do go past the foliage. And the trick to painting trees with foliage is to always paint the foliage first. Then we can put a few grasses here by these tree trunks. It's the shadow, it's the silhouette, so we don't need to put any shadows in. If you'd like to put a few more grasses all around this hill, you can do that. You can even put in some trees in the background if you want to. I'm just going to leave it just like this. And that is our sunset oak tree painting.